Well, hello there and welcome back to the next episode of his F1 2019 Alfa Romeo career mode. We're at Spain, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, however you want to pronounce it. And here we are then before we go to FP1 and FP2 off camera. So we've got a couple of messages. Here's a look at the details of your latest team goal. So complete one clean race, which is no penalties and no warnings, that sort of thing. Race weekends remaining 2, and if we manage to do one of them, we get 400 resource points. As I said, the new contract's now in effect, and we'll brush over it again just to refresh everyone's memory and my own as well. So we only get 400 resource points because it is an easy target rather than a hard target as before. The weekend preview there, obviously about Spain as well. We've now dropped down to 10th in the Drivers' Championship, but Alfa Romeo in 5th place in the Constructors. Very nice indeed. So this is our new contract then. 18th expected qualifying and race position. We remain as second driver for now. Team goal down from hard to easy, and the contract perks: race bonus, 25% extra resource points bonus for the race session, a simultaneous development. We can now do 2 upgrades per department at the same time. Upgrade speed is now level 2, which means that major and minor upgrade time reduced by 1 week. So minor upgrades take 1 week, majors take 2, and the pit stop efficiency still at level 1, 10% quicker on the pit stops. So the research and development, and I said this at the end of the previous episode, I believe now we can come down here and do this. And as I was saying, it doesn't really matter when we do it, because you see there, this was ordered, if you like, before the new contract came in, and we still had a 3-week development time. Now it's down to 2 weeks because obviously we've gone to the next event, knocks off a week, and because of the new contract, which is reduced major upgrade time by a week, we come over here, we can immediately order this, and again it only takes 2 weeks. So they'll both be developed at the same time. Hopefully they'll both pass at the same time, because you can see down there, once we get this on, it's a rear wing main plane. A redesign of the rear wing main plane results in better efficiency, meaning more downforce can be produced without additional drag. Should be on the car in Canada, so we'll order that. And if you look down the bottom there, the red line for Alfa Romeo Racing, you now got a bit of blue after it. That's potentially where we'll be if both of these upgrades come in, which will shoot us right past Williams up to the back of Force India as well. We need these on the car pretty much as soon as possible, because we've got a litany of minor upgrades that we can get on the car quite nicely as well, although they are going to cost a bit more with each passing week. Other than that, we've done nothing on the chassis and the powertrain for a couple of episodes. Durability we'll have a look at as well, because we can pretty much do nothing now for probably the next 2 episodes, waiting for the aerodynamic departments to be installed on the car. And I want to have enough resource points that if they fail going into Canada, we can immediately reorder them again, which only takes a week. So we'll be focusing a bit more on the durability department whilst it goes quiet around the performance side of things, so that's okay. R&D in progress, obviously that's what's on there at the moment. The progress history for other teams: the big 3 have all had upgrades by the looks of it and stay exactly as they are. Mercedes now ahead of Ferrari, Red Bull chasing as well. Renault no upgrade from then. Haas, Force India, McLaren and Toro Rosso have all had upgrades. It looks like Toro Rosso have had a major upgrade, all the rest have had minors, so we're slipping away from McLaren, and Toro Rosso are now up with us again. We hadn't had a performance upgrade since China, but that's fine, because hopefully in a few weeks we'll shoot right up as well when our double major aerodynamic upgrades come in. As for vehicle management, we'll order a new gearbox. Practice gearbox as it is anyway. Hopefully that'll be on the car when I go away from camera for FP1 and 2, because 33% starting to show a bit of wear. 51% no for the race. That is a worry. We'll probably have to really limit our running for the next 2 races in FP3, so only expect a token lap or 2 from me once I come back to you in a minute or 2. As for the power unit, 46%, 34, 44, 30, 46, 28. I think the turbocharger, the MGU-H and the ICE will be the next durability upgrades, as well as the gearbox as well, so it's going to be very busy in that section of the R&D tree. Other than that, nothing else really to look at, so I'll go away now and do FP1 and FP2 off camera and come back with a report for both of those sessions before we start with FP3. So here we are then, we're at FP3 now. For the next part of this episode. FP1 and FP2 all completed. Good news and sort of slightly bad news really. I'll start with the good news. We are quite competitive with the tyres we've been running compared to everyone else around us in both the sessions. I feel that if we nail qualifying, we have a sneaky opportunity to get inside the top 10. We seem to be around about somewhere about 12th to about 13th or 14th, something like that, and we've managed to get 4 of the 5 practice programs done on purple as well. So I've just got either the qualifying one or the race simulation one left to go in FP3. We'll do the qualifying one because I think we'll definitely get green. We might get purple in it. The slightly bad news is the setup. I must have run about 5 or 6 different setups in both FP1 and FP2, making slight moderations after every couple of laps or so. We only completed, I think, in total in both the sessions about 16, maybe 15 laps, rather than the max 20 I usually do, because after you do 10 laps in each session, you stop getting resource points for each lap. You get 5 resource points for each lap you complete up to 10 laps. If you do 11 laps, you only get enough for 10. So yeah, we only did like 15, 16 laps in total across both the sessions. And it does feel that the setup I've sort of decided on is quite high wings. I think it's like 7-9 wings for Spain, which is a bit high. So we're losing a little bit of speed down the straights, but we're getting good acceleration out of the medium speed corners. It's the low speed corners. The car's very twitchy and gets progressively worse with each lap that goes by. So, you know, planning a one-stop strategy here, halfway through each stint, we're going to really be fighting some unnecessary oversteer with the car, and it really does snap on you as well. I think in FP2 I was running a medium compound, and only 4 laps in, and I lost it coming out of, I think it was turn 6 and 7, and I didn't really do anything different I did in the previous lap, but it got to a point where the tyre wear was now eating into the sort of the 30% mark, and you had to start taking care. So it's a bit of an issue if we do have to do the one-stop strategy here, if we outside the top 10, because that's the strategy I will go for. So a little bit of care is required, but overall the pace is there, the pace is good. So we'll go to FP3, we'll do the qualifying programme. That's the only thing I'll do in FP3, and then we'll advance to the actual qualifying event. So here we are then in the garage. It's worth noting as well the weather. You can see that, I mean, FP1 and FP2, which is, you know, held on the Friday, was nice and sunny. FP3 is quite cloudy. Qualifying, look at that, it's going to start off in heavy rain and then progressively get better as the session goes on. So I think it's going to come down to nailing that final lap at the end of qualifying. We'll have to wait until we go into qualifying to really see what the weather's going to do. I've done no wet running here at Spain at all. I'm running a setup that doesn't work for wet weather, and if you look at the race as well, the first 20-30 minutes are going to be dry, and then it's going to start raining possibly towards the end of the race, which is going to make things very interesting as well. So qualifying is going to be wet, and then it's going to get progressively dry as it goes on. It might still be wet at the end, but we might be off the full wet tyres onto the intermediates, which means lap times will improve. And in the race as well, it's going to start off cloudy with a bit of sun, then it's going to get quite overcast, it's going to get progressively darker, and then the rain is going to come in. So here we go, in track acclimatisation, tyre management, fuel management, ERS management all done. And if we set a fast sector 1, we get 5 resource points, and there is the qualifying pace programme we'll do as well. 2 sets of soft tyres left, so we've got 2 opportunities to do this. As for the car setup, then here we go. Aerodynamics 7.9 on the wings, very high for Spain. Transmission 68.70. Suspension geometry 1 click to the right on the front cambers. I've left it in the middle for the toes. It did start off sort of down here, and I've progressively moved it back as the 2 practice sessions have gone on to try and find some extra grip. Suspension all over the place. 5.4, 5.6, 4.6. Again, I've really been twiddling this in the 2 practice sessions. 85% brake pressure, 58 on the bias, which is something I usually run. Tyres as well, very different as well, been fiddling with this with 2 clicks to the right and 2 clicks to the left on the front and rear tyre pressures, and it is helping with the balance of the tyre wear. It seems to be a nice even spread around all 4 corners rather than the rears burning up a lot quicker than the front. So we're back out of this then. We'll go to the qualifying pace programme. We'll do an outlap obviously to try and save the tyres as best as we can, and we'll try to nail this on the very first lap to obviously save as much engine and gearbox wear as possible. So a few cars already out on the track, you can hear them thundering past the grandstands. And there we come then, no one behind us, so that's fine. Limiter off. Turn the ERS down all the way to 0, of course. We want as much ERS as possible. And we'll have a slow out lap here at Spain. And then we'll push in sector 3 to get the brake and tyre temperatures up. So yeah, FP1, I think I ended the session on the hard tyres. I only ran the hard tyres. Of course, every setup modification I was doing, I was going out doing a lap, coming back in, going out doing a lap, coming back in, with little tweaks in between. And I think the best lap we set would have been on, I think, our 5th or 6th lap, when the wear was already sort of in the high 20s, low 30s, and it placed us 13th in the session. There's a few people behind us in the medium tyres, a few behind us in the hards, of course. That was sort of the same in FP2, and then people went quicker later on. We ran the medium tyres throughout FP2, and again, you know, do a practice program, pit after a couple of laps after it was done, and then go back out there with some modifications on the setup. So we ended the session in 17th, but I'm not worried. A lot of people that were ahead of us were on the soft tyres. We was only a few tenths off them, sort of the likes, you know, the Force Indias, the Renaults, the Toro Rossos as well. So we're just coming to the final chicane then. Bump everything up all the way to the max, of course, for the qualifying program. Out of the final chicane, out of the final corner. Open up the DRS, and here we go. I'll be happy with purple, but all I want out of this is green. There we go then, the 5 extra resource points for being fast in Sector 1. Let's keep improving it as the lap goes on. This is the first point here, this double corner here, where the car is very twitchy on exit. Here as well. See that I'm fighting the wheel. So far we're purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. Here's a tricky corner as well. That might prove a bit of an issue during the race. Really hammering these revs in the final few corners. Now into the final corner and out of it as well. You know, I think it'll be about 8 tenths up on the Delta. Will it be enough for purple? It is. It's enough for purple, and we go fastest in FP3 for now. Expected result in qualifying 11th. That will be absolutely perfect if we can manage it. A 23.316 on the medium tyres, running standard fuel and standard ERS. I was in the mid 24s, so a good second advantage running everything to the max. That's good news to have going into qualifying. The only problem is, of course, is that qualifying will be in the wet conditions, and we will be running a dry setup because predominantly the race will be in the dry. Whether the IR will do the same as well, I don't know. So we'll have a slow tour back to the pits, and then we'll let the timer run out in practice, and we'll see where we end up at the end of the session. So there you go, Hamilton and Bottas first and second in FP3, both running the soft tyres. We ended the session in 7th place. We were, who's the closest to us? Alexander Albon was 6 tenths off of us, also on the soft tyres. So was Norris. Hulkenberg was 8 tenths off. And then we've got to come down here to these guys as well. But we are probably fighting Magnussen a lot slower than just 1.4 seconds slow. Of course, our lap time was sort of increased a little bit because of the fact we was running basically a qualifying sim with everything turned up. But the pace is there, and the pace feels good. Now we've got to deal with qualifying in the wet conditions as well. And it's going to be crucial when we time our qualifying runs, especially at the end of a session when it looks like it's going to get... the conditions are going to get a lot better in the last few minutes, and therefore the lap times will reduce as well. So the resource points for FP3 will be quite low. We managed to complete the 5th and final practice program. We have 6. We don't have to do the 6th one because it gives us nothing. So we only gained 70 from that because we only did the 1 lap. And reputation there with a few of the teams slowly but surely rising up as well. The respect level as well slowly changing. So then we now move on to qualifying. We've got a few messages to look at. Good luck this session from Emma, the weather forecast. There you go. You can see there in qualifying it's going to start off very wet and progressively get better. It could be dry running at the very end of the session, and it's the opposite for the race. It's going to start off dry, get progressively more overcast, and then there is going to be rain towards the end. We might be able to finish the race if we're still there at the end on the dry tyres, but looking at that, it looks like we're going to have to go into the inters towards the end, so that's going to make things very, very interesting indeed. And there is some blurb there as well about the circuit there. So yeah, we'll have a look at the the vehicle management screen. We're now onto obviously the event gearbox, 52%. So I only added 1% after our FP3 running. I assume after qualifying in a race that will be somewhere in the 60s. So you very well may have trouble at the next event, which I believe is Monaco, which is absolute cancer for me. So as for the power units, 52% on the ICE, 38, 49, 34, 53 and 33. We will run all of these in qualifying and the race, and we might start swapping things out at Monaco. But depending on my pace at Monaco, I'm thinking ahead here, of course, everything could change. But if we find ourselves in the barriers every 5 minutes at Monaco in the practice sessions and well off the pace as well, I will probably order all new parts there and then at Monaco, take the grid penalty because we'll probably be at the back anyway, and then just trundle around to try and pick up as many resource points and some sort of a semi-competitive finish if we can. But there we go then, that is everything that we need to know. So let's advance to qualifying, where it's sure to be a very exciting session.
You join us today at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for what's bound to be a really hectic qualifying as the teams compete to set the best lap times. The competition is certainly heating up as we head into today's qualifying. Some impressive times showing up during the previous practice sessions. Anthony Davidson, do you think we can expect a similar level of skill to be showcased during today's qualifier?
Well, I certainly hope so. The competition here is extremely tight, and I think we might see some very close times today. Remember, practice isn't just about fastest lap times though. It's about optimization, it's about ratifying your decisions. No one's going to be sweating small mistakes here and there, but in qualifying that all changes. You need to nail that perfect lap or face the consequences, and believe me, that's a lot of pressure.
So here we are then, with my headphones on. I can hear the rain thundering down outside. We've got a set of intermediates on, so already we might be in intermediate conditions. We'll have a look at the tyres, what the difference is. Yeah, the wet tyres are over 2 seconds a lap slower. Dry tyres, yeah, as you can see there, it's not really going to happen. We'll have a look at the weather forecast then. So within 10 minutes, the rain is going to start easing off. 15 minutes, it's still raining. What is going to be like in 20 minutes? I don't know. What's going to be like in 25 minutes? Because that's going to be crucial. Is it going to start getting drier? It is going to start getting drier as the session goes on. So we'll go out now and do a banker lap, of course, on the intermediate tyres. We need to save a set for the race if possible, which is going to be incredibly crucial. In fact, I think it's absolutely pointless going out right now. So with the conditions progressively getting better as the session goes on, I feel. Yeah, the track temp and air temp stays the same, but with sort of 8 or 9 minutes left, it will be a little bit better. So I think what we'll do then, we'll just wait until, I don't know, 10 minutes left, and then maybe go out there for a first run. So like I said, bang on 10 minutes left to go. These are the lap times so far, 35.0, although Carlos Sainz just moved up into 6th place. Not everyone has set a lap time, although Vettel and George Russell are about to post their first lap time. So the wet tyres, you can clearly see they're getting worse. 6.13, 6.20, 6.25, 6.30. Have a look at the dry tyres. Are they getting better as it goes on? No, they're getting worse. So it's now optimal range for the intermediate tyres. So I feel it's optimal time to get out there on track. And that's exactly what we're going to do on the intermediate tyres, because it seems for the next 2 or 3 minutes at least, this is the perfect range for these tyres to work. The wet tyres are progressively worse, and so are the dry tyres, which obviously means then that the intermediate tyres are in the perfect window. So we're the only driver I feel that hasn't set a lap time yet. That's fine, I can deal with that. And now we come out on circuit, and I believe this is the first time we've run in wet conditions, maybe in this career mode series, but certainly in a competitive position as well. And when it's clear like this ahead of you, you can see what you're doing, that's fine. When you're following a couple of cars, there's a wall of spray, you are blind, you are completely blind. I have now ventured onto online mode and done a few races in both intermediate and heavy rain conditions, and yeah, when there's a wall of cars in front of you, you are completely blind. You can't even see the corners, put it that way. You've sort of got to guess where they are from memory. So we'll keep the fuel nice and high. I think. But the ERS we can certainly drop down to 0 to try and save a bit if we can. As I do that, I'm running off the circuit a little bit. So this is going to be completely new conditions to me. I know how the car handles on different tyres in dry conditions, but in the wet conditions I have absolutely no idea. The one thing I can say though is traction is dramatically reduced, as is the braking time as well. You've got to brake so much earlier. And the back end will be a lot more twitchy. It could help us with the setup, running 7.9 wings of course. So 7.5 odd minutes left of the session. We'll bump the ERS back up to 5. We haven't got 100%, which is a shame. And here we go then, out the final corner. No DRS of course. This will be our first lap in qualifying in the wet conditions. These high wings are definitely helping us because we're purple in sector 2 and almost half a second up on Vettel. So if we can nail this, we might be taking provisional pole here. Into and out of the final corner, working so hard on the wheel. I think this is going to be provisional pole, and by some distance as well. It is. Look at that.
That was the fastest lap.
Look at that. That is absolutely incredible. I did not expect that. I've been good on this game in career mode before. I remember back in 2017, whenever it was wet in qualifying in a race, I'd always be super competitive, and it looks like it's transitioned over onto F1 2019 as well. So 5.5 minutes left of the session. We can have a slow tour back to the pits now. We can have a look at what the weather's going to do, because I want to be able to be the last car across that line, because I feel that the conditions are going to continually improve here. But as it stands at the moment, we are on provisional pole, and of course running the wet tyres here in qualifying. Hopefully the game will do what it does in real life and give us a free choice of tyres going into the race, because starting at the very front of the grid on the one-stop strategy would be absolutely fantastic. So a slow tour back to the pits now, and we'll have a look at what the weather's going to do in the final few minutes. So we're just rolling back into the garage now. Exactly 4 minutes left of the session. There's a couple of drivers out there, including one of the Ferraris. You can hear the rain pitter-patting on the car. Provisional pole at the moment by, I believe, around about half a second. We'll have a better look once we get the data up on our screens in front of us. But so far so good. It's looking very promising here. I had a sneaky suspicion that we'd be competitive here in the wet. So we'll have a look now as the tyre blankets go on. Here are the screens then. So yeah, the conditions are going to continually get better. We'll have a look at the timing screens. Oh, okay, so it's a bit lower. We're just less than 2 tenths ahead of Charles Leclerc, but almost half a second ahead of Vettel. There's no other real surprises out there in qualifying. Raikkonen's down in 15th. There's nearly 4 seconds separating the entire field. So then, the crucial thing is now we'll look at the tyres and see what the difference is between them. So there's no difference if we put on a brand new set of inters. We'll go for that set actually. There's no difference between the inters and the wet. What about the dries? No difference either. And there's 2 minutes and 50 seconds left of a session, so we are going to be ending the session on the intermediate tyres then. Indeed it is. We'll drain a bit more fuel out of the car because I won't be planning on doing an in-lap.
So far our
fastest lap is a 1 minute.
There's a lot of cars out on circuit at the moment, as you can see, but the conditions, yeah, the conditions are improving. We've already lost provisional pole to Max Verstappen. So 2 minutes and 22 seconds left of the session. Just double check I've got a brand new set of intermediates. I have. So we're back out of this screen. And we'll go back out on track, following a queue of cars as well. So we've got to try and find some track space if we can. And we have got a very, very good opportunity here to start at the very front of the grid. Yes, we're off provisional pole at the moment, but we know that the conditions are continually going to improve. So it could very well come down to the last car across the line. So, here we go. No, we lost too much time somewhere. Disappointing to not take pole position. I'm disappointed, honestly, to not take pole position. The lap didn't feel on. I never felt comfortable at any point. I think we was up by a couple of attempts sort of towards the end of sector 1. I think I broke myself at turn 4 and turn 5 a little bit and didn't take as much speed as I probably should have. But we're still lining up in a fantastic third position, which just highlights how good we are in the wet. Of course, the race will be dry and then the wet will come in towards the end as well. There doesn't seem to be any real surprises. Gasly in 4th maybe, but Hamilton, Leclerc, Vettel, I mean, we're right amongst the big 6 as you can see there. And there's a big gap further back as well. Perez, Ricciardo and Hulkenberg completing the top 10. Then we've got Grosjean, Magnussen, Sainz, Butler, Weber, Raikkonen down in the 16th. Albon, Norris, Stroll and George Russell. So we'll be starting this race from 3rd place unless any of the top 2 have penalties. And all in all, I think we can be very, very happy with our qualifying performance. It's disappointing to not take pole position, but I'm sure once we have some more wet qualifying sessions later on in this career, we'll have a better opportunity. But for now, we'll be starting this race from at least 3rd place, which, to be honest, is a fantastic result. So the rivalry breakdown there, obviously we all completed qualifying and I qualified both Raikkonen and Russell. So we're just 1 point behind Raikkonen as we reach the closing stages of that rivalry, and we're now 3 points ahead of Russell. So that's quite good then. The resource points for qualifying, this should be very high, probably the maximum we can get as long as the result v car performance was 100, which it was. So 150, very nice, up to 707, which is good. And a reputation there as yeah, well, we qualified 3rd, so I'd be surprised if any of the teams didn't look at it and go, nah, that's not good enough. Respect level there as well. Just climbing a little bit with the rookie veteran status. I think on 2018 it was, or maybe 2017 by the time I started season 2, it was already classified as a bona fide veteran. Don't think that's the case on this one. I think it's going to take a couple of seasons until we're right up there as well. And we really haven't had many interviews, I should say, to improve our sportsmanship side of things, because obviously the more sportsmanship that we show, the better our terms will be with the team.
Very solid results. You're looking good for the race.
We are looking good for the race, but now we go from wet conditions into dry, where we weren't uber competitive. What message, Jeff? Time to put all that preparation to good use, okay? Take it easy down into turn 1. I don't want to see you in the pits on lap 1 for a new wing. No, neither do I. As always, I'll be feeding you information as the race goes on, and if there's anything specific you want to know, just hit that radio button and ask. And you can see the weather forecast there on the right hand side hasn't changed again. It's going to start with a little bit of sun and cloud, and then get progressively worse as the race goes on, and we are going to be hit with some rain towards the end, which is going to make things very, very crucial. There's absolutely nothing else to really look at. We're not going to change any units. The gearbox now up to 53%, so that's not too bad. So we'll end the episode there. Overall, I think we've improved dramatically over the 3 practice sessions, and qualifying as well, qualifying in a fantastic 3rd place in the wet conditions, which means that the next episode, the extended highlight package for the race, could be very, very exciting, so do make sure you watch that. But for now, thank you very much for watching this episode, and I'll see you all for the next one very soon.